On Sunday, August 27th, Mars, the planet of action, courage, and desire, enters the peace-loving Libra. In Libra, Mars calls us to address the social dynamics in our life and follow our dreams with grace, charm, and eloquence Libra is known for. Let's take a closer look and break this transit down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive astrology. If you like my content, please leave me a like or a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you'd like to thank me, you feel so inclined, you can also buy me a coffee. So before we dive in, just quickly, you can find my work and book a reading at anastasiaastrology.com. There's a link down below, and that's where you can also find my magical astrological candles and oils. As you already know, most likely, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I work with the most benevolent, with the happiest transits to capture their energy in a shape of a candle or an oil, and I bring that to you so you can improve your relationships, improve certain parts of your chart, and work with more challenging transits. So now let's talk about Mars in Libra. This transit begins on August 27th and lasts until October 12th. Mars is the planet of action. Mars is the planet of desire. It's quite impulsive, right? It's quick, it's courageous, it tends to separate, it tends to cut and be quite like driven, right? Whenever Mars is placed in any sign other than the signs Mars rules of Scorpio and Aries, Mars has to behave in accord to the nature of the sign. So Libra is a Venus-ruled sign, right? So it's the opposite in some ways. It's the anti-Mars because Venus connects. Venus unites. Venus doesn't like conflict or strife. Venus likes things to be peaceful and harmonious and beautiful and enchanting, right? So when Mars is placed in the sign opposite from the sign it rules, the sign of the opposite nature, it's considered to be in a more difficult position. So Mars in Libra is considered to be in its detriment, right? Because it's harder to be assertive at in a Libran kind of social event, gathering, party, like it's harder to be conflict oriented, right? But Mars wants conflict. So when you put Mars in a Venusian sign, it ends up struggling to express itself without difficulty. Patrick Watson gives a great example of Mars in Libra. He compares Mars in Libra to a soldier at a dinner party, right? It's very much like, what do I do with all of my knives here, right? So accidentally, you can cut someone, right? Like Mars in Libra may struggle with like being more impatient, being like, there's either conflict avoidance or at times when conflicts do happen, they might cut more, right? Like there might be a little bit of like trying to play on some drama or instigate some drama. And that's of course like the lower vibrational Mars in Libra. People always have the choice, right? So it's just harder, I think, to express conflict energy of Mars in Libra. And if you're born with this placement, please let me know. Please confirm or deny any of these things. Maybe you're perfect at expressing anger. I think like I have one of my closest friends has it, and she's definitely, I think she hates conflict, but it does still come into her life, and sometimes it comes through in like this very kind of indirect way, right? So Mars in Libra needs to become more Venus-like. So a lot of times the best way of working with this Mars is learning to fight for peace or fight in more peaceful ways, right? Like I've seen people with Mars in Libra be journalists and cover like art exhibits, for example, or I have a friend who works as like a conflict mediator. So being kind of diplomats, being mediators, being like, fighting through like peace and diplomacy. Abraham Lincoln actually had Mars in Libra. So sometimes, you know, Venus obviously is at home in Libra, and Venus in Libra tends to be idealistic and kind of want everyone to get along. But sometimes you do need Mars in those environments to expose the shadows, right? Like I mentioned, the client who has Mars in Libra, and she's a journalist talking about the shadows of the art industry. The more positive ways of expression from Mars and Libra, and what can we expect as well, right? We can expect to feel more artistic, more creative. Some of the people who had Mars in Libra or have Mars in Libra are Eminem, Elvis Presley had it, Freddie Mercury, Whitney Houston. So a lot of kind of creative energy. There's still an element of like Mars can be like hypersexual, right? So perhaps the creative element has some kind of like sexual undertones or some kind of provocative energy, maybe like, once again, that tendency to like disturb the balance, right? If Libra is the sign of the dinner party, you have soldier at a dinner party, so they might rap like Eminem does, right? About like the challenges of war. So it's a very like creative, but slightly on a darker side sometimes. Winning arguments with style and charm, and trying to, once again, like kind of make sure the opposition is happy when you negotiate, when you go after things. You tend to become more other people oriented. And that's where some of the difficulty comes in, right? Because when Mars is in the sign of the other person, it becomes harder to focus on self and say, this is what I want, because you're too focused on the other person, and as a result you become indecisive. You sort of tend to ask people what they want and follow their lead, which is not always a bad thing, but then as a result you may either be kind of critical of yourself or hard on yourself for taking a long time to decide. So be careful of being too critical of yourself or being passive aggressive as well, right? It may be difficult to be directly confrontational at this time, but sometimes relationships grow through conflict. Sometimes you cannot go around difficult topics. Like, in fact, by addressing them, you can become closer and find true connection. So learning to build peace without avoiding conflict and still using charm and diplomacy, I think, are the highlights here, or like the goal state. So let's talk about all 12 signs and rising signs specifically, and see what this month and a half can bring, right? It begins on August 27th, lasts until October 12th. So literally a month and 16 days. So if you are an Aries rising, Mars in Libra, Mars enters Libra, which is your 7th house, which is all about relationships. You may suddenly feel more driven to be proactive, to date, to speed up your involvements with other people. Maybe you even feel more courageous to ask someone out. Mars in Libra is in a cardinal sign. It's more interested in taking action, initiating things, but the action is very much focused on partnering up and getting together with other people. You may be more willing to commit, more willing to compromise, but of course, watch out for being passive aggressive and not expressing frustrations. Really kind of learning to discuss your feelings in an honest way is the lesson here. And to avoid fighting or to avoid some of the more negative expressions of this Mars, you may do active things, right? Like, that's another thing. If you're born with Mars in Libra, it might be difficult for you to exercise actively because it's harder to access that masculine energy, since Libra is more of a Venusian sign. It's a young sign, which is a masculine sign, but it's more like partner oriented versus independent, Mars in Aries. So exercising in a creative way, exercising with your partner, maybe you go on a hike, maybe you go dancing, doing that kind of stuff, being active together could be great. And building relationships, business relationships, collaborating with other people, that's a great time for that. If you are a Taurus rising, Mars in Libra is going into your 6th house, and 6th house is the place of work, health, service. So Mars is actually in its joy in the 6th house. So even though it's Mars in a more difficult place, you're getting that added benefit of Mars being in its joy. What does Mars in its joy mean? It means that your everyday life, your work life may speed up. There might be more problems to solve, more people to talk to, more documents to sign, but you have the energy to do it, right? And you do it once again with that charm and eloquence of Mars. Your everyday life may suddenly open up to involve more creative pursuits. It may already be like that, but I think with Mars being in your 6th house right now, you are even more kind of focused on getting those creative pursuits into your everyday life. Watch out for taking on too much. Watch out for kind of rushing, because you may also get injured or, kind of find yourself in a more difficult position, I think, if you take too much, or if you try to like weight too much, too heavy like pounds at the gym. Sorry, I was getting a phone call, so I got a little distracted. But yeah, like being more productive is likely. Watch out for being passive aggressive. It's more likely that maybe something is bothering you, but you're bottling it up, and then it can result in some kind of work drama. Instead, use this energy you have to exercise, to figure out your diet, and maybe make positive changes and improvements. If you are a Gemini rising, Mars in Libra is going into your 5th house of romance, creativity, joy, children. So you can expect more attention, more desire to address those topics, right? Romantically, Mars in Libra in the 5th house could inspire you to go out, to sign up for a dating app, to schedule a date, even to ask someone out. Mars in Libra, Libra is a cardinal sign. So you may find yourself more willing to be active, right? To be the initiator. Creatively, you may feel more inspired. In terms of kids, there might be more action. Maybe you're taking your child to swim lessons and you're swimming with them, or you're just kind of connecting with them, going hiking with them. There might be a lot more energy spent interacting with kids, and even more energy spent having fun. Watch out for, of course, the shadow side of Mars in Libra, which is being too indecisive, being too vacillating, asking other people to make decisions for you, and as well as being passive aggressive. So not speaking up when something is actually bothering you and swallowing it down, and then it can come out in a way where your partner is like, where did this come from? So be mindful of that. If you are a Cancer rising, Mars is about to spend a month and a half in your 4th house of home and family. And you have more energy to be at home, more energy to connect with your family members, and to do home renovation projects. Libra is the sign of aesthetics and beauty, so perhaps you are driven to beautify your home, add some new cushions, curtains, and change your wallpaper, or buy some kind of art, right? There might be more desire to do that. You might be more competitive with your family, but not in an obvious way. There might be some kind of passive aggressive competition that shows up. Maybe you're also defending your family in front of other people, but you're also arguing more with your family. So it's a very busy time, but more behind the scenes, more kind of privately busy. Have fun. Watch out for the passive aggressive side of this transit. If you are a Leo rising, Mars is entering your 3rd house, and here we are, your everyday life speeds up. 3rd house tends to be your schedule, your communication, your hobbies, your business, your siblings. So Mars in the 3rd house. I remember really noticing the last time Mars was in Sagittarius, which is my 3rd house, like my mind was on fire. So like having more ideas, having just sort of things pop into your head is more likely. Maybe there are creative ideas, right? Mars is in Libra. You may find yourself doing more negotiating, more kind of figuring things out, sending more emails, making more appointments, right? Like taking more short trips. Maybe you're just like going to one part of your town to another part of your town, just constantly being in motion is likely. Driving too fast is a lot of times a sign of this transit, so be aware and do not drive too fast as possible. And also make sure that you're balancing some of this quick go, go, go energy with downtime and painting or writing or singing. Like add some kind of creative element to your day. And watch out for passive aggressiveness and for indecision that comes with this transit. Especially, indecision is not bad. It's bad only when you start to be hard on yourself for it or when you let it get out of hand, right? So everything is about balance. As a Libra, you know. As a Libra third house, I guess, you know. And me as a Libra rising, I know. So if you are a Virgo rising, Mars is about to enter your second house of money and values. And Mars in the second house is very entrepreneurial. It's passionate. It's ready to hustle and make money. But of course, it's Libra. So here maybe you're starting partnerships. Maybe you're getting other people involved in your projects. Maybe you're doing work that deals with women, work that deals with beauty, art, sales, negotiating type of work. So working harder, making more money is likely. Mars in the second house also tends to be more impulsive about resources. So spending more money is another possibility. And fighting about money is a possibility. Of course, Mars and Libra will try to avoid conflicts and will try to be as peaceful as possible and as, you know, charming and kind of friendly as possible. But I would encourage you to talk things out honestly if there are any issues connected to resources instead of trying to sweep things under the rug. If you are a Libra rising, hello fellow Libra risings, Mars is entering your first house. So hooray on Mars leaving our 12th house, because Mars has been in the 12th in a hidden sector. You maybe have been very critical of yourself. Maybe your sleeps were extra vivid. Your dreams were extra vivid. If they have, let me know, because mine have definitely been kind of even dramatic. I think very martial dreams, like fighting with people, running, falling, like a lot of kind of martial stuff coming up. But now Mars is finally clearing your 12th house, going into your first house of self, and you're more willing to take action. You're more willing to exercise and be more proactive. You may feel more energetic. Of course, watch out for being too fast or, you know, pushing yourself too hard, because Mars in the first house can also be more accident prone. Like with that speed and energy comes sometimes negative side of stumbling and falling, right? So be aware of that. It's a good time to start new things. But for the first like 6 days or so, Mars is ruled by Venus retrograde. So take things slow, right? Venus goes direct on September 3rd, and then potentially things will start to speed up. And be mindful of the shadow sides of Mars and Libra, the self-doubt, the overthinking, right? Weighing things forever, being indecisive. Try to take a beat if you don't know what to decide, and it's okay to consult other people, but it's up to you to decide what you want in life, right? So find a healthy balance between asking people for advice, but also remembering to do things that you want. After all, North Node is in your 7th house. It's an Aries, so it's about being comfortable with asserting yourself and finding independence in relationships. If you are a Scorpio rising, Mars is about to go into your 12th house. And somebody actually asked me, if you're watching, let's address your question right now. But somebody asked me if things will be like really challenging for Scorpio risings in September, because Mars will be in the 12th house. And there's some challenges with Mars in the 12th house, but they don't have to be only challenges. It can also be a very imaginative time, very kind of spiritual time where you're connecting with yourself. Mars in the 12th house is a good time to escape and go on vacation and take a break from the mundane, from the drama that maybe you're facing in your life, if you're capable of escaping and retreating and spending some time alone, like not even capable, if you're able, right? If you have enough resources, this could be a great time. The more shadow side of Mars in the 12th house, it can disturb your sleep schedule. I was just talking about that when I talked about Libra risings, because we're wrapping this up right now. So your dreams can become more vivid, more dramatic. So sleep can be more restless, right? Like waking up in the middle of the night is more likely. Give yourself time to rest. Give yourself time to be in nature. Give yourself time to create. Be patient with yourself. Avoid the downside here of being too self-critical and overthinking. You know, like, yes, you might be more indecisive at this time, but it's no use to make things harder by also criticizing yourself for being indecisive. So give yourself time to rest, give yourself time to breathe, and be patient, and lean into spirituality. Focus on your mental health. Talk to a therapist. Do creative projects. There's ways you can balance this energy. It doesn't have to be only negative. If you are a Sag rising, Mars is about to go into your 11th house, which is the place of friendships, networks, hopes, and dreams for the future. And it gives you energy to collaborate with other people, to perhaps even lead other people. Of course, Mars and Libra would rather want to be like an equal partner, but there might be opportunities to lead or opportunities to work with other people. You may find yourself speaking on behalf of other people, like you are being the person who's coming in and negotiating for your union, if you're part of the writing union, for example. New dreams can be coming into your life, new ideas, right? New projects that involve social media. Perhaps even an opportunity to volunteer or to do some kind of work that serves other people. Of course, with it being Libra, there's a certain harmonizing, diplomatic attitude you have, and a desire to maybe do work that brings beauty into the world, follow dreams that connect you with other people. So it's helpful to do that. Watch out for the shadow side of Libra, the indecisiveness, the passive aggressiveness, and the tendency to avoid conflicts. It's good to resolve conflicts through peaceful manner, but sometimes you really just have to air out the dirty laundry and talk things out so that you can understand each other better. If you are a Capricorn rising, Mars is entering Libra, your 10th house, for the next month and a half. And so here you are focused on working. You have more energy, you have more drive, you might seek partnerships, you might want to be active, but do so in relationship with somebody else. Maybe you're actively reaching out to people you know, looking for a job, right? Being proactive. Maybe you're picking projects that involve Libran things, so maybe you're being extra creative. Doing work that involves beauty, doing work that involves diplomacy, that involves kind of social aspects, working with other people. It could be a really lovely time to start new projects, especially once Venus goes direct, because Venus rules this Mars. So wait until September 3rd, and then afterwards, take more action. And watch out for the more challenging side of this transit, as in passive aggressiveness, indecision, struggles with bosses where you're trying to be too accommodating and then you feel like you're being taken advantage. Do not hesitate to speak up for yourself, even if it may feel a little bit uncomfortable. Just focus on honesty, care, and patience. If you are an Aqua rising, Mars is about to go into your 9th house for a month and a half. And 9th house represents faith, your philosophies, your life views and visions. So when Mars is there, we tend to be, wherever Mars is natally or by transit, those are the places we're more willing to take a fight in, right? So here you may feel more willing to express yourself with conviction. And that can show up in many ways, right? That could mean talking to your family at dinner about what you believe and things getting heated. Or it could maybe mean speaking up in front of an audience, maybe on social media, maybe at a conference, and kind of preaching. Mars here can have almost preacher type energy. So of course, watch out for being too stubborn or too focused to a point where you don't recognize the other person's opinion, right? It's a lovely time. You will have more energy to travel, to explore, to study. You want to open your mind, ideally in partnership with somebody else. You want to grow. And so that might involve traveling, writing, creating, collaborating with other people. And legal matters can be activated around this time too, but watch out for, like, legal matters can be a bit complicated at this time, especially until Venus goes direct. So perhaps when Venus goes direct after September 3rd, things will start to feel better, but initially it could be tricky. But it's also a good time to negotiate. It's like if you're dealing with any legal matters, this could be your opportunity to bring things out in the open, discuss everything, and perhaps come to a solution. Now, if you are a Pisces rising, Mars is about to enter your 8th house, so hopefully a good sign in terms of relationship tensions. But of course, 8th house represents your the resources of your partner and resources you share with other people. So with Mars in the 8th house, you have a strong drive to pay off debts. You may be handling some kind of financial matters, maybe being more proactive about saving. Maybe you're dealing with an inheritance or taxes, even though it's later in the year and not a lot of people are paying taxes around this time. But there might just be more work connected to paying off debts. Your partner might also be going through a more active period. Maybe they're hustling more and expressing themselves more and making more money, or just sort of feeling like it's a busier period for them. The challenge here, I think the positive energy here is that you can take control over your financial matters. You can figure out finances. You can also work on transforming something as in bad habits and debts, right? And bring more healing into your life, because that's what 8th house is. It's very much about going through a difficult period so that you can come out on the other side. But the shadow side could mean fighting with your partner. Mercury's retrograde in your 7th house, right? So you're rethinking relationship, agreements, and now Mars will be in the 8th house. So perhaps you need to address financial side of your relationship. Perhaps you need to figure out how you spend your money, how you arrange the resources in your relationship, and talk about things that are fair or not. Conflicts around money, but conflicts that are first you try not to address things and then it backfires are likely. So try to address things as they come and be kind and caring in your expression. So don't wait for things to blow up, but instead bring them up as they come, so you don't feel as frustrated when everything, builds to a burning point. And this is all I have. I hope Mars in Libra brings us some exciting creative inspiration and positive collaborations and less of the difficult, passive-aggressive and indecisive side. So hopefully us being aware of what the downsides are can make things easier. And I hope you enjoy this transit. I will see you in the next video. Bye.